Hello and welcome to another manga spotlight. This is Ankoku Delta by Arupa, and it is a interesting sci-fi series. It's basically about other dimensional beings that feed off of human energy and their interactions with humans. So the official premise is in the otherworldly city of Delta, its grotesque residents sustain themselves by consuming human energy. This gritty, action packed tale marks the first full series from the up and coming talent who captivated audiences with the one shot That Salmon Hunter and Composter Funeral. I have not read either of those, but maybe I'll go check it out. So, yes, in this series, there is this other dimension. Specifically, we take place in Delta. Well, we switch between Delta and Tokyo. But in Delta, there are these just weird residents. They look kind of off and interesting. We have two characters, Aurora, who's going to be one of our leads, and Ryuji. And Ryuji's basically showing Aurora the ropes. And what they do is they go around and they find humans. So this dimension sits literally like on top of our dimension. And so they can see humans, but humans can't see us. And when they see humans, they don't see humans as humans. They see like humanoid shapes and just like a bunch of weird energy. And so what these creatures do is they have like this spike with a little hose attached that goes into like this backpack. And they go and they stab humans and they suck out their energy. And usually humans like pass out after that. They don't necessarily die, but they could if they get too much taken. But we see Ryuji and he's showing Aurora the ropes. And we see them witnessing this father beating up this kid. The kid's name is Hart. And the dad is beating the crap out of him, choking him out, basically about to murder him when Aurora stabs the dad with the utensil to suck out his energy. And she's not doing this to save Hart. In fact, the only reason why she's able to see them is because of the negative energy. That's what they really want. They want to just not suck out human energy, but negative emotions. So anytime a human is fearful, depressed, sad, angry, frustrated, any kind of like negative emotions, the stronger it is, the more that these beings can see them. So if humans are like at peace, calm, whatever, these creatures cannot see the humans, and so they can't interact with them. But because this dad's beating up his son, there's a lot of negative emotions going on, so they can see them, and she attacks the dad and drains him of his energy. And once the dad passes out, the kid's fear disappears, and so she can't see the kid anymore. She can't drain his energy. So they leave, and they go to this area where they have to turn in the energy, and it gets repurposed into energy that they can actually take in. So let me just kind of break that down a little bit more. The energy that they suck out of the humans, they can't just immediately ingest it. It has to be like purified. So once they collect the energy that they want, they go to this dispensary where it gets purified, and you can drain like a huge backpack full, and you'll get like maybe 2 cylinders of energy. It's not that much. And the dispensers always take 1 as like a form of tax. So yeah, Aurora does not get that much from this guy. So she asks Ryuji if she can borrow another flask of energy, because this energy stuff, the vials are not only used to sustain these creatures, but it's also used as currency. And the reason why is because she's going to buy a quote unquote human body or a human suit. So she goes to this area where she's able to rent out a human suit that will allow her to cross this gateway and enter the human world, because she wants to see what it's like on the other side. And so she goes into the human world, interacts with them, checks out their food and stuff. Eventually she comes across Hart, and she has no idea who this kid is. But eventually she realizes, oh, that's the kid that was being attacked earlier. And Hart at this point is just at the top of the world. The doctors tell him that his dad is like in a coma. Whether he'll wake up or not, they don't know. So Hart's like, yes, finally, like I'm free from that abuse. Then he realizes that, well, with him gone, I only have a certain amount of money on me. How am I going to survive? And that's when he comes across Aurora. And she basically asks him to help show him the ropes, like what it's like to be a human and stuff. And he asks her like if she would be his older sister. So it reminds me very much of that one series, the elder sister like one by Pochi, which is kind of funny because that series actually started off as a hentai series. I think it's still a hentai series. There's like the hentai doujinshi series version, and then there's like the officially publicized version that doesn't have all the hentai stuff in it. But yeah, it just reminds me of that where we have this boy asking this like demonic creature, in this case, an other dimensional being, to be his older sister because he doesn't have anyone left to take care of him. And she refuses at first. And eventually the two of them get kidnapped because the dad owed a lot of debt. And so Art gets kidnapped and he's going to have his body parts sold. And Aurora gets kidnapped and she's basically going to get, how can I phrase this in YouTube words, attacked in a way that a man can attack a woman, if you get what I'm saying. But because there's all these like negative emotions, especially coming out of Heart and stuff, she's able to free herself. She basically disappears. Like she's able to escape and she goes through a gateway that sends her back to Delta, where she strips out of the bodysuit. And she comes back to the warehouse, only she's in Delta, so they can't see her. And she goes and she starts attacking all the people that have kidnapped them. And she's sucking out just all their energy. And she makes so much energy that she can buy her own human suit. So now she no longer has to rent out a suit. So she can come and go through gateways and enter the human world whenever she wants. And eventually she comes across Art again. It's like, you know, I won't be your older sister, but I can be your friend. And we just get kind of funny moments where Aurora starts making the world a better place without knowing about it. So, for example, we have one chapter where there's this guy who is basically like a terrorist. He's creating a bunch of homemade bombs that he's going to set out in the world and like blow them up. And so the problem, though, is that he's in an apartment building. And in Delta, there's no building where the guy is at. So basically what Delta tries to do is they try to mimic the human world as much as possible. That way they can get to where the humans are at. But at this point, there was no building made where there is one in the human world. So this guy who is a terrorist who never leaves the house, he has so much energy because there's just a lot of negative emotions in him. But he's just seen kind of floating up in the sky in Delta because there's no building. So there's no way that Aurora and Ryuji can get to him. So Aurora decides to come up with the idea of, let's see if I can go into the human world using my human suit, find a way to lure him out of the building. And so while she's going to check up on him, she sees that he gets food delivered to his door every single day because he never leaves the house. Instead, he just sits and wallows in his anger and frustration and cooks up homemade bombs. So she decides, okay, I'm going to steal his food. So every time like a DoorDash or Uber Eats or whatever comes to his door, she grabs the food before he can get to it. And then she takes the food and gives it to Heart. And so she's basically helping Heart by feeding him free food. And she's also trying to lure this guy out. And eventually she's able to lure him out so that she can stab him and suck out his energy. And so she actually ends up saving a bunch of civilian lives because the bombs that he has, he's not able to plant them because he gets drained by Aurora. But that's not what she was trying to do. She wasn't trying to save anybody. She was just trying to lure him out so that she can stock up on his energy and make more money. And that's basically what this series is like. It's Aurora helping out Heart while also kind of helping out humans in general, but she's only doing it for money and not realizing that she's actually helping them. Like to her, she doesn't see that her actions have consequences. She's just like, oh, this guy has a lot of energy. I'm going to suck it out, go back to Delta, make a lot of money. But in fact, there's a lot of consequences to her actions. And eventually we see a moment where there's these, I believe they're humans. They could also be otherworldly beings, but they are aware of these Delta gates. And their job is to gather information on it and destroy Delta. So yeah, I'm going to kind of stop it there. Again, we're only like 2 chapters in at the time of this recording. So there's not a lot to work with. But so far, I find it really interesting. I've always been fascinated by like otherworldly beings and stuff like that. I don't say when I say fascinated, don't think like, oh, you're one of those weird people that believes and all that stuff. No, I love researching it. I find it interesting, like aliens, ghosts, occults, all that stuff, conspiracy theories. I love just reading all that stuff. I don't necessarily believe it, but there's just something fascinating about these like theories. And other dimensional beings is one that's always been like a favorite of mine, especially the shadow people. So to have a story about other dimensional beings that are feasting off of negative human emotions, I don't know, it reminds me a lot of that theory about like psychic vampires and how we have all this negativity in the world because there are these psychic vampires that live among us that are feeding off our negative emotions. It's a very, very weird out there theory, but it's just something that I'm always like, that would be like a really cool story. I should do that one of these days. Unfortunately, Arupa beat me to it with this series. So yeah, we basically have emotional vampires in a sense. These are otherworldly beings that steal negative emotions from people, that drains out their human life force, and then uses it as food and currency in their world. Yeah, I'm kind of wondering like where this is going to go. What's the relationship between Aurora and Hearts? Like, how is that going to affect her? Is she eventually going to become more human and realize what she's doing? Or is she just going to remain how she is now, where she doesn't see humans as anything other than food and money? But yeah, this is a really interesting series so far. I will say that the Aurora character is very cool and interesting. Our character, not so much. I feel like the series, if they want to make him like a main dual antagonist, they have to really build him up more. He's kind of weak at this point. But Aurora is very interesting to me. Her relationship with Ryuji, like the way he tries to teach her, like, here's how we do things, and then she just kind of seems very like stubborn. Like, she's like, oh, there's this guy up there that we can't get to. Ryuji's like, yeah, sometimes you have to deal with that. Anyways, let's keep going. We'll find another target. And she's like, no, no, no. This guy has so much negative emotions. I gotta get him. And just that stubbornness actually ends up saving a bunch of lives without meaning to. Like, I love that little dynamic. So yeah, it's like this nice little interesting mix between sci-fi body horror kind of with comedy. It's a really good series. I've really enjoyed it so far. Again, only 2 chapters at the time of this recording, but a really fun 2 chapters. So I'll leave a link down in the description below where you can read it for yourself. But yeah, check it out. There's Ankoku Delta by Arupa. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Later. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I still want to thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next one is more to your liking. With that said, thank you once again, and I hope you guys and gals have a good one. Later.